Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I have a sublimation project to share today. So I'll be making a sequined cosmetic case. This is the Artist Spree Blank of the Month for August 2024. And if you've ever seen like those, those pillowcases where if you rub your hand across the sequin in one direction, it will flip them all over to reveal a design. And then you can kind of rub your hand over it again in the opposite direction and it'll go back to the original color. Well, that's what this is, but on a smaller scale. And the one side is silver, as you can see, and then the other side is white, which is the polyester coated side that we will be sublimating a design onto. So for my sublimation, I'm going to use some Artist Spree paints, a paintbrush. I've got the word love that I use my Cricut machine to cut out. I'm going to use that as a mask. And then your basic sublimation supplies like protective paper, the project mat, heat tape, a heat source. I'm going to use my big heat press so that I can get really good pressure. Because you know how sometimes sequins, they're a little bit cupped. So you want good pressure to be able to firmly actually press your design down. Now, here's my sequin and the cosmetic case, and I'm just going to trace around the perimeter onto some plain old copy paper. Look how cool that is. It flips so easily, and you do want to make sure that you are sublimating onto the side that's white, not the shiny silver side, because the white side is the side that has a polyester coating, which is what you want to, which is what will allow the sublimation paint to transfer onto it. Because remember, sublimation works best on polyester because of, just the chemical makeup of it. Because what's happening when you sublimate is your, in this case, I'm using paint, but whatever the sublimation media is, it is going to actually go from a solid state to a gaseous state. And then through the heating process, the cells of the polyester also open up, they heat up, and they open to receive that medium. And when it cools back down, the medium, which is paint in my case today, will return from that gaseous state to a solid state, but now it's trapped into that polyester. And now it becomes a permanent part of the polyester of your blank. And this is a fun way of making cool DIY custom gifts or things to sell, and it becomes permanent. So the design is durable. It's not going to flake off because it's not an extra layer of something, and it should be long lasting, and it's a really nice way to kind of customize something yourself. A lot of custom things, if you went to a mall or a store or you ordered it online, they would cost a lot to do. But this is something that you can do very, very easily. You don't even need a fancy sublimation printer to do it. You can see here, I'm just very casually painting this on, but what I am doing is I mixed a little bit of the blue with the purple to make this more of a bluey purple, which is my preferred purple, because you can get a very plummy purple and a very lavender purple. And then I'm gradually adding white sublimation paint to tint this color so that it gets lighter and lighter as I move across or paint across this page. Now, I've got the outline of my sequin case, so I know where to confine my painting, and I'm very intentionally not making this solid. I want the brush strokes. I want this very casual look. It's actually a little bit more solid than I really wanted, but I like the look of this. I like the effect of it. It's actually inspired by a recent also inspired collaboration hop that I did. And at the time I'm filming it, it's pretty close in time to when I made that project, which was originally inspired by Mindy Egan. And I think she used a brushstroke stamp, but in my video, which I'll link to if I can remember as a card in the upper right corner if you want to check it out, but I used an ink pad to just do this very casual swiping, and I thought it would be fun. I like the look of it, and so I decided to do that with an actual paintbrush. And I don't want any of this paint to go to waste because it's a really nice color. The color I ended up with, I actually really like a lot, and I'm probably not going to be able to mix that again because I wasn't keeping track at all of how much of the purple and the blue and the white, especially the white, because I was just adding white as I was going. So, why let it go to waste, right? So just kind of paint it out onto some scrap copy paper, and you can save that for another project. I think I had enough to maybe do a coaster, so I might turn that one into a coaster. Now, with this love word that I use my cutting machine to cut out, I made sure to adjust this design so that it was completely connected. It makes it easy to use this as one piece. I did cut this out of some slightly thicker cardstock. Probably could have gone thicker. I think I accidentally grabbed 65 pound when I meant to get 100 pound. It still worked okay, but if you're going to do this, I would maybe recommend something a little bit thicker because I'm using this as a mask. So the reason why I'm applying it backwards is because anytime you do sublimation, you want to make sure that your design is going to read backwards if you want, if it has a correct orientation, because what's going to happen is we're going to put our case on top of this, and that will have the effect of mirroring it. Now, what I forgot is that my brushstrokes, I wanted my brushstrokes to go from dark to light. I wanted it to look exactly this way, and I totally forgot that even though my brushstrokes are not, they can go in any direction really, but the direction I wanted them to go in was how I painted it. So what I should have done actually was just turn this around before applying my mask. But it's okay. Like I said, the brushstrokes don't actually have a correct orientation, so to speak, because you could use it in any which way. But it had a particular direction I was hoping for, and I just forgot to mirror it. But don't forget, if you use words, to definitely mirror. Now, I am going to bring this over to my heat press. I've got it sandwiched in between some protective paper. You want to do a little bit of a peek test to make sure that your ink transferred, and it really did. This was transferred at 400 degrees for 60 seconds on pretty kind of medium pressure, I would say, but it's really hard to tell on my heat press. I just clamped it down until I had a little bit of like resistance to kind of push it down all the way closed, but not so much so that I had to really put weight into it. Now, I'm a little bit impatient. I don't want to wait to see this whole thing. A lot of times I'll wait and let it cool until it's room temperature. I just let this cool for like maybe 30 seconds and then I started to take the design off. So look at that. How fun is that? Now, I will say my, this paint is look how vibrant and saturated this is. So my ombre, I feel like it didn't come through quite as I envisioned because it's just also strong. It's also vibrant. You could tell from when I painted it, it looked very clearly dark to light, but here it's not quite as light. Everything almost looks like very dark at the one end, but towards the now the right side, it's not that much more light than it started. So that's just something to keep in mind for next time, but I still like the really casual brushstrokes. And the reason why I did the brushstrokes in this direction is because this is the direction that you need to swipe your sequins in when you actually go to flip them over. And now, I didn't mention it as I was doing it, but I did put a bit of protective paper on the inside of the case. That turned out to really not be super necessary because the ink there's enough, here that it doesn't actually go through to the other side, which kind of makes sense because when you flip this over, you're going to be able to see the silver side of those sequins. If it was thin enough for the ink to bleed through, then you would, kind of lose that illusion, that magic of being able to flip it. If you look closely at my word love, well, you can very clearly read it, and it's nice and sharp, which is why I like using the kind of cut out lettering as opposed to just using it as a stencil. Because with paint, it's so thick, sometimes you get it bleeds through a little bit, but it is tinted a little bit. So I think if I had used the 100-pound cardstock like I had planned, then maybe I wouldn't, it would be a more bright white, but there's still plenty of contrast there. And so it's still very, very legible. So look how fun it is to kind of flip this all to the silver side and then be able to kind of flip it back and reveal this really fun message. So lots of fun. I have always been so kind of mystified by these projects when I've seen them on YouTube. And so it's fun to be able to kind of make one myself. And you can see, look at this. Look how fun that is. So I'm right-handed, and that's why I wanted the brushstrokes to go in the specific direction that I painted it, because as I'm flipping, it would kind of mimic that arc. But I think it's still really cool. It's a nice reveal. You do have to be a little bit careful. I lost a couple of sequins, so don't be too rough with this. But I love how this turned out. It was a lot of fun to make. If you try sublimation, do join us over on the Artist Spree Facebook group and share your makes there. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.